No, we're making the intro first. No, that's okay.
3, 2, 1.
In today's video, we're gonna be checking the updates of the last 6 months for BigQuery. We made our videos for Data Studio, going through the main updates that happened there, the ones that we cover on our monthly blog post about it. And now in this video, we're gonna go through them, the ones that we consider are the most important ones. So stay around for the video, and thanks for being here. Hi, everybody. Again, Alex, Thomas, Ricardo.
Hello.
And today, as we said, we're going to be talking a lot about BigQuery. So the pace of updates and changes in BigQuery is not as fast as the ones in Data Studio, but still 2022 has had a few big updates, and we have here two experts on BigQuery who are going to be talking about the updates there and how has this been changing their workflow.
Not about blending today.
Nothing about
nothing
data
about
blending in
Data
Data
Studio
Studio
blending
today. All pure BigQuery. So, Alex,
Yes.
take it away.
Yes. So the first thing I think it was already quite at the beginning of the year, is that they added a new data type. It's the JSON data type. It's not really a big change due to before it was always so when you have your data in one column in a JSON structure, it was just saved as a string. And now it's saved, or you can save it as really a JSON data type. There are also some functionality improvements and so on, but now you see also quickly then in the structure and so on, you quickly see in your table structure, you quickly see which table is or which column is now has no JSON data inside, which has just strings inside. So it's just more something like it's more comfortable to use it. But you can still use all the JSON functions you already use for getting the key data and so on. You can also use for the JSON data type, and I think even also for the string data type if you want. Yes, but just a quick thing.
Yeah, it's super nice if you work with APIs and getting data from APIs, right? That improve the whole thing a lot.
Yes, then one other thing is I have not so much experience with it, but I like that it's there because I think it's one of the most basic algorithm or programmatical things you can have is recursive algorithms. So what does it mean? So you can have your with clause in your SQL queries, and then you can say, okay, this with clause under certain conditions, it should repeat a lot of steps. So I think in my blog post, for example, I just made something like that. I create a table or a column where I just show, or where I created a column where it shows from the 1st of January till the end of January for every day one row. I also said it's way more easier with generate date array, for example, but that was one of the easiest example. So yeah, so you can use them, you can do conditions when it should do recursive and when not, and so on, and quite cool, I would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know that from, for example, Microsoft SQL and so on, where you can do while loops and while clauses inside SQL, and now with BigQuery, you can do kind of the same thing. This is really helpful in some cases.
Yes. Yeah, then you have table clones. So you have already table snapshots, and you also for sure can copy your table just. So then you get the current status of the table in another table. Snapshots is a little bit more different. There you can, for example, save also the current, or you can kind of save your current status of the table, but you can also go back. Some days we already talked about it, I think in the 2021 summarizing stuff. And now there are table clones. So table clones means you have your parent table, you can say, or your root table. And then you have your clone table, which you're getting out of that. The difference is due to, for example, snapshots or copies, that when you have 2 times the exact same table, so you have your parent table and your child table, and they they have exact the same data inside the same structure, then you just have the costs for the parent table. You just have to pay for all the stuff which is different between these two tables. So for example, if you have an additional row in your child table, but it's not in the parent table, then you have to pay for storage costs and so on for this one row. But that is quite cool. And also, for example, when you change the data in your BigQuery parent table, then it's also getting updated to the clone table, to the child table. Yes, so that is one thing. But especially this cost thing is different than to the other ones.
How can you, in that case, clone a table and add new rows to that table? How is that on the operational side working? Because a very important use case is that you normally have a lot of historical data and then you would like to make updates for the current day, right? This is one of the most important use cases, which is there for any bigger e-commerce company, that they have years of historical data, but you would like to be as real-time as possible in terms of analyzing. And the issue was always like, you can recreate the current day on a minute basis. We talked about that when we talked about data updates in Data Studio some weeks ago, last week or the week before. And now we need to talk about BigQuery, where the data is coming from. So how could we use table clones for solving that problem? Is there a way you see? Because you can basically clone that table. Then you say, okay, for additional rows, you only have to pay, which is good because you can keep the complete history of yesterday and till the first day of your data. You can clone basically that table and basically add the rows which are there for the current day.
Yeah, maybe yes.
Let's try that, and let's maybe also after the video, maybe we can show that if it's working. So let's see.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. So just to say that's also not possible. It's also quite easy to clone that table. Yes. So you can check it out. Then we have BigLake. That I also just quickly want to mention because we also have not so much experience with it, due to that there are for us no really use cases, at least in our daily work currently. So BigLake is the solution for Google for data lakes. So you always have your data warehouse where your data is, you have at least raw data or already transformed data or your data in one point. But data lakes are always have the idea to have all the data inside, not transformed, not really structured, and so on and so on. And this BigLake is the solution from Google to solve that data lake problem. It's highly connected with BigQuery and with Google Cloud Storage, because I think Google Cloud Storage was before, at least, or is still the data point where you push your data lake data inside. Due to that, you can push all formats or every important formats of data to Google Cloud Storage. Yes, and then you can do some references to your Google Cloud Storages, to BigQuery, due to that you use BigLake and so on. Yes, but due to, as I said, we have not so much experience with it.
It's meant to be omni-channel, right? So it's more, I think it's more important for bigger companies who have multiple data sources, which should not all be integrated into BigQuery, where I really would like to keep them together and also make them visible. I think that's then where BigLake comes into play and where really it has this advantage.
Yeah. Yes, then you have the Analytics Hub. The Analytics Hubs, at first when I saw it, I quickly compared it with the public data sets. And it is also some kind of, so you again have some kind of published data sets. And this one then you can also use. But for example, we as datadice can now push some kind of data to this Analytics Hub. And then, as far as I understood, you can also monetize them in some way, that when people use that data, that, yeah, so then they have to pay the costs and so on. You can get some money out of it and so on. So the publishers of the data can push data to a marketplace, and then you can search it, like when you have something like you do also for public data sets and so on. So a cool thing, you can also spread it out of your organization, Google organization and so on. So it's quite cool to get some more insights. And as far as I also saw, there are already a lot of data sets in it with new data. Yes, so
Is there e-commerce data inside? Did you check that?
So I just quickly took a look how much.
So I think one of the
that is missing a little bit.
in the public data sets, there's no real like e-commerce data inside. There are some sales data inside.
Bitcoin stuff is a lot of stuff there and so on, but
health market and so on, financials, but e-commerce is really missing. So if we would like to build a public dashboard for e-commerce, it's quite hard at the moment to find public data sets where product data is inside, sales data is inside, user data, maybe faked ones.
So maybe we need to start our datadice e-commerce shop, and then as part of the service to the community, provide all the information there, all the money that we're making.
Don't say that early, and otherwise someone else will do it. So we need to prepare that first.
The datadice shop.
What else can we sell there?
Merch. Our bottles.
Oh, that's good.
Hoodies.
Can we also sell those microphones here? Let's see.
Then we have to rebranding then.
Rebranding.
Okay.
Good. Next topic.
Yes. Then we have the column level data masking. That is, I think, a cool small thing.
Topic.
Yes. So before it was already BigQuery for the last months, years, they made a lot of changes in the security and access thing to their tables,
which were needed.
And you can have now access to different rows. You can also have access to different columns. Before it was just possible on the column level to say, okay, person XYZ should have access to this, and this table. So you could do it with policy tags and also really detailed permissions and so on. And now you can say, okay, the person still have the access to the whole structure of the table. So even if you also add new columns to the table, the person has still access. But you can say, okay, but that person don't get the real data out of it. So for example, when you say, okay, column with revenue, person Thomas should not see it. So then the revenue table is still there, and you also have the name, you also have the data type, but you don't see the real data. You always see 0, for example, for integers. Or for strings, I think it's just an empty string, floats, and so on. So you always see just zeros and whatever. But you still see the structure, you still see the name of the column.
And you can query it.
Data type, you can query it.
Do you see that you don't have access to it?
I'm not completely sure. So you will recognize it then when you see just empty string.
It could also be empty string, right?
But
that would be interesting. So we can check that. So when is that interesting? So first of all, beforehand, as Alex explained, you didn't see the column itself. You could not query the column. You didn't see the column. You could maybe see the structure in the column structure there is for BigQuery, but that doesn't help you because you cannot query it. And when is that so important? If you work with people you don't want to give important information, like there could be revenue, as you said, right? That you don't want to show orders, revenue, anything, any other metrics, but also user data, right? Then, for example, email addresses, everything which is really restrictive in terms of GDPR and also NDA information. This feature really helps, as now you can really query it. So think about someone in your company should basically build a solution where user data is inside. You don't want to have basically user data visible to everyone in the company. So now you can exclude it, but we can still work on the table. Another very good reason, or another very good use case, is if you work with external companies, like for example freelancers from any freelancer platform, for example. So some of your work you might want to outsource, but the rest of the work stays within the team. And then you can give basically access to this particular freelancer, agency, whatever. You can say, okay, please deliver a certain solution, but you say, okay, email addresses, you need that field because it's important for my solution, but I don't want to show the content basically of the email information. And beforehand, you needed to clone the table, or not clone, let's say copy the table, need to basically with substring or regex contains, you need to replace basically certain parts of the email addresses, that you have kind of a staging table that other people can work with. Now it's way easier with those rules to basically don't show the data inside. If they now change it in a way that you can say, okay, please only show the first 3 letters and the last 3 characters, and in the middle we make a asterisk, or how do you call it? That would be even better, but also like empty string does the job for the moment. Yeah, so very, very important and good feature in terms of data security.
Yes. Then also one thing which they improved step by step. We talked also about it in the last video where we talked about the whole new features of 2021. Is the translation service in BigQuery. So when we talked about it 2022 at the beginning, so for 2021, there was just the translation service for Teradata SQL, which is not so popular as far as I know. But yes, for example, now they also already support Amazon Redshift SQL, which is quite cool. So these two are already published and out of beta, you can say. And there are also a lot of SQL dialects which are still in preview, still in beta. So for example, Oracle SQL, Snowflake SQL, important, Apache Spark, and so on and so on. Some more. Yes, so what you can do is you can do 2 things. So you can push, for example, in your Google Cloud Storage, you can push some SQL queries with the Teradata SQL, Amazon Redshift, whatever. And then you can push the translation service that you get then out of SQL file where you get then the BigQuery dialect for that. And the same thing you can also do already in the workspace. So there you can say translate, then you get on the left side the Amazon Redshift SQL, for example, and then on the right side you get the BigQuery result. For sure, it's not possible vice versa. So you don't get the possibility
Why should they do it?
to translate BigQuery to Amazon Redshift. That is for sure not possible. But yes, the other way around is possible. So to migrate
Would
Amazon
be not
stuff
such a smart
Google.
move from the GCP team.
So it's now possible, easier to migrate Amazon Redshift or Teradata SQL infrastructure to BigQuery if you want.
Does something like that exist the other way around? We could check. Like
So-
maybe Amazon Redshift provides something.
Okay, that I don't know. Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
It was concentrated on Google.
If
so-
you have a big Redshift cluster and you would like to migrate it to GCP, like call us, send us an email. Was that too direct? No.
We can say that yes, it exists, and we put a link, and it just goes to the datadice website.
that was smart move. Smart move.
Yes. So then the last thing, just to quickly mention it again, because we already talked about it in Data Studio, but people who are maybe more interested in BigQuery, because it's really highly in case for both or important for both, is when you're querying your data and in your output table, you can quickly now under visualize or reporting, or I don't know, exploring, I think, then you can also click on Data Studio. It opens a new Data Studio report with a bar chart and a table currently, and also with a small title above. And there you see then the data with some examples and so on. And then you can also click on edit and do some more creating some more bar charts, tables, whatever you want, pivot tables. Yes, so the data source is also just available in this report, an embedded one. Yes.
Very quick.
Okay.
One last thing. If you preview your table, it's now completely differently structured, right? But if you have basically records, you can now expand and collapse them. And this is also very nice new functionality to structure the data. Think about Universal Analytics data, where you had endless of columns, and now you can simply basically
They made it step by step. So at first they just made it for the preview, for example,
Exactly.
and then they just
and
also
also
made
now
it
for the data.
output. Yeah,
So
yeah.
really good functionality. I really like it.
That's good.
Thomas, if someone would like to
Damn it.
keep up to date with the overall
Yeah,
BigQuery,
yeah.
Data Studio News, and everything, I think we do a lot of stuff in datadice. How could they
Millions
start?
of possibilities. Millions of possibilities. So first of all, Alex is writing a lot of cool updates every month about BigQuery, Data Studio, GA, and GTM. We also have the whole team working on blog posts. We release one blog post, I think, every week. So
We tried these days.
go to Medium. Also check Geek Culture for the monthly updates. Alex is pushing, and yeah. stay tuned on our YouTube channel. I think there are more videos to come every week, a new video.
I just have to quickly mention the newsletter.
Newsletter.
Every Friday we publish with some analytics.
I'm
LinkedIn.
I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
You've been replaced.
LinkedIn with some tech stuff or also team stuff when we do in our form our daily work. Yes.
Promise to be better prepared next time.
All good. Perfect.
Guys.
Thanks everybody. See you next video.
Bye.
Bye.